Hey everyone, welcome back to Pawpaw's Workshop. Over the past couple of weeks, I've done several different projects using the Prism style letters that you can find in the VCarve Pro, and I was cutting these out on the 1-inch foam. Well, today we're going to step it up a notch. We're going to use wood, and with the font that I'm using, I can actually use a 3/4 inch piece of this MDF to be able to cut out these letters. Now there's a lot of settings that are going to be changing, and we're going to be doing some experimenting with the whole process, and I think you'll want to see exactly how I carve out the letters using the wood with different settings. This MDF, which is medium density fiberboard, is 11 1/8 of an inch, and this is 30.5 inches. The thickness of this is 0.779, and I like to check it in several different places. That's 0.78. .777. I'm going to take an average of about 0.77 of an inch throughout the whole entire board. Some of it is 0.76, some of it is 0.78, but I think the majority of it is about 0.77. So we're going to use this measurement. I can use the glue and tape method to be able to hold this down, and to help the alignment of the tape, I just use the grid lines that's on the wasteboard. And then I can put the MDF on top of that and put up the second piece of tape. Now, one of the things that can help, I know the spacing of the grid line, so I can literally just mark the MDF itself and know exactly where to put the tape and get perfect alignment. These are 2-inch squares on my wasteboard, so that way there's no guesswork as the placement of the tape on the MDF. Using the CA glue and the tape method to be able to secure the projects to the wasteboard is my preferred method. Now, don't forget, I do have a link in the description for the discount codes to be able to purchase the Starbond glue if you choose to use this type of hold down method. Please keep in mind, it takes very little glue to be able to secure the project. You can see I put down just a little small stream of the glue on the piece of tape, and I don't use tons of tape. 2 pieces is plenty, and even though I'm cutting all the way through the MDF, and there's a lot of pressure that's being placed on this project board, the glue and the tape method holds this project in place without any problems at all. Once you place the MDF down onto the tape, it only takes just a few seconds to be able to have this secured, and we're ready to be able to carve. Okay, we're going to start with a brand new project. It is going to be a single-sided project. I want to be able to have this on the x-axis. I'm going to use the 30 inches, and then on the y-axis I'm going to use 11.25. That'll work just fine. And as far as the thickness of the material, 0.77 was the average thickness, so we're going to use the 0.77. We are going to be using the inches. Material surface is what we're going to be using today for our Z0. And we're going to use the bottom left-hand corner. And the rest of this we don't need because we're not doing the modeling, so I'll just hit OK. Now the letter style to be able to use and be successful with the 3/4 inch is the letters that I have been using. This is the Seco UI Historic, and that has worked extremely well. Now I'm going to need several different letters, and I'll just start with 1E. That's what I'll need there. So, and I need it 7 inches. So we'll close that out. So it's 7 inches tall. Now, because this is 11 inches this way, I really don't have the opportunity to get 2 letters in here. So I can just grab this handle. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees, and we'll slide it right over here. We'll put it right in this area. Another letter that I will need is the letter N. Let's see if we can put an N right in this space. So let's click off of this, go back to my letters, and we'll do the letter N. And we'll do the same thing. We're going to grab this letter. So let's close this out. We'll grab this letter, and let's see if we can rotate this and put it in that space. And I think we can. That will work perfect. The next letter we're going to need is the letter S. So I'll grab that right here. We'll put in a capital S. And we're going to do the same thing. We'll close this. I'll take it and rotate it. I think that, well, let's rotate it a little better than that. And we'll slide that down into here. That takes care of the S. And now I need the letter A. So let's take the letter A. We'll get rid of this again, click off of it. And we'll put the letter A. And we'll do the same thing. We will close this and we're going to rotate this letter A. I'm going to rotate it this direction. And let's slide it up into here a little bit. Rotate that a little. I think that'll work. Okay. So that takes care of the letter A. And the next thing I need is the letter D. And we'll close this. We'll rotate that around. I think what I'm going to do, yeah, I think that'll work. Let's rotate it right to there. Let's see if we can fit that up inside of here a little bit. Okay, that takes care of a D, and I need another D. So I'm going to hit Control C and Control V, and let's get another D. We'll put that right in here. And I need one more D, so we'll hit Control V again. And we can put that right in there. And I need an apostrophe. So let's go up here and I'll just hit the apostrophe. We'll close that and I'll take this little rascal and we'll move it right over into this area. Now that we have the letters that we need, let's move over to the 3D. So I'm going to click on this, and the first thing I'm going to do, we're going to be using the Prism carving toolpath. And of course, I'm going to need to highlight everything. And we're going to have the start depth at the 0, and we're going to set this at the full prism depth. The V-bit that we're going to be using is this 120-degree V-bit. Calculate that. So there's the tool path for this bit. And let's come up here and let's split the screen so we can actually see that. That's one of the nice features in the version 12. And now we can see that's going to look real good. So now that the Prism toolpath is done, we'll close this out, and I need to select the Profile toolpath. This will allow me to actually cut the letters out of this project board. Now this is where we're going to do a little bit different, because I'm going to have the start depth at about 0.3 of an inch deep. And then I want to be able to have the rest of the cut depth based on that. And the cut depth that I want to use will be 0.75 of an inch minus my 0.3 of an inch. So this cut depth is going to be 0.45 of an inch. And I'm going to use the 1/4 inch end mill to be able to do this. Now the reason the start depth is down lower is because of all this material that has been removed. So I can actually lower this bit down into this area before it starts to carve. Otherwise, I would be starting on the surface and be carving air until it got down to this area. And I'm going to cut this down to, I'm going to do 5 passes. We're going to take it slow. Now I do want this to cut on the outside. Everything else will look fine. I think I want to add the ramps to this. And I don't need, I think that'll be fine. I want to take it slow and easy with this material. And we'll set the name up, DD cutout. And that is a 2.5 end mill. And we'll calculate it. So that looks good. And let's take a look and preview everything. The area that I want to look at is over in here. That looks good. That's not going to touch. These areas all look good. So this will be perfect. Now I want to go back and I want to double check on this one because I want to take a look at this. If you'll recall, when we were cutting the foam, we was cutting down at 1/2 inch per pass. And here you can see the bit is actually set up at 0.05. So that will work just fine. All that's left to do now is to save the tool path. So I'm going to come up here and we have the DD 120 degree V bit. That's going to be the first one that we're going to save. And I need to set this up in a new folder. Now I save all the files on a USB drive. And what I want to do is come down here because I have a special section that's set up for the Prism letters. So we'll open that up. And you can see I have a couple of different files here and with the different tool paths. But I want to set up a brand new folder. And we're going to set this up just as the DD folder. And that way, these tool paths and this design will be able to go into this folder. So that's set now. So now I can actually save this tool path. So we'll hit Save Tool Path. See, that's Prism letters. And then we'll come in here, open up this one, and we'll save the DD 120 V-bit. And then we'll close this. We'll come down to the cutout, and we'll do the same thing. We have the DD cutout, 2.5 end mill, so we'll save that tool path. We'll put that into the same folder. So we'll hit Save. And while we're at it, I'm going to come over here and do a Save As, and I want to be able to save this file over to the same folder. And then I'll hit Save. That way, if I ever need to come back and change anything or add something else to it, I've got the original file here as well. So now let's set the machine up and start to carve. I think pretty much everybody knows that I use the Open Build controller to be able to control the software. And when I open up the software and have the machine turned on, it shows this. This is what I want to connect to. So we'll click on it. And of course, the first thing, I'll get this alarm to unlock. So we'll unlock it and we'll home the machine. After homing the machine, I simply select the button that says Open the G-code. From there, I'll be able to go to the thumb drive and load in the G-code file for the Prism letters. I'll cut out the Prism letter profile using a 120 degree V-bit first, and then I'll come back and load in the second file for the actual cutout using that 1/4 inch end bill. One of the big differences that you're going to see right away using this 120 degree V-bit is it's going to take multiple passes to remove all of that material to be able to actually create the profile for the letter. Remember, we're only cutting down 0.05 of an inch at a time, unlike when we were cutting the foam, we were cutting down 1/2 of an inch at a time. And that's because, quite frankly, the density of the material itself. So here's a close-up look at the first letter that's actually finished. And you can see the prism design where you have that nice sharp point. And then looking at this S, you can see how it begins all over again. Then here's a good look at how these first two letters are completed, and they look really good. So you can use 3/4 inch material. It all depends on the font that you choose. This particular font is actually fairly narrow, allowing the full effect of the prism to be able to be shown with 3/4 inch material. If you choose a font that is a wider type font, you're going to need thicker material to be able to realize the full 3D effect. I switched over to the 1/4 inch end mill to do the cutout for the letters, and you can see now how it's cutting on the outside of the letter, and it's cutting all the way down to the wasteboard. By carefully measuring at the beginning to be able to get the proper depth, you can see that that bit is cutting all the way to the wasteboard, but not actually touching the wasteboard itself. In this video, I'm using the surface of the material as a 0 point. In a future video, I want to show you how to use the material bed or the wasteboard as a 0 position. You can see how this material is paper thin right down to the wasteboard, and that's what I wanted. The bit itself doesn't touch the wasteboard, but it does cut all the way through to the wasteboard. Accurate calculations to be able to cut this out is the key element to be able to make this work. Now, quite frankly, using the machine bed or the wasteboard as a 0 position actually will make this process a little bit easier, as I'm going to show you in future videos. The key to the whole process is having a very accurate measurement of the thickness of the material, and as you can see, that varied quite a bit when we were setting this project up. The finished letters, I think, look absolutely amazing. This is fantastic even before sanding. Now, this will require a little light sanding to be able to prepare these letters for painting. I really like how the prism letters look. To me, this is so much more professional looking than doing just a plain flat letter using just an end mill. So hopefully you'll leave me some comments in the comment section below and tell me, is this something that you want to try, or have you tried the prism letters before, and what type of success have you had? If you're skeptical about how well the glue and the tape method works, well, just take a look at this. I have to use a putty knife to be able to loosen the tape from the wasteboard itself. And you can see that it holds really, really well. But once I get that tape broken loose, then I can begin to lift this up. And remember, these letters are basically paper thin that's actually holding them into this material. You can look on the back side and you can see how it's not all the way through, but by gently pushing, these letters will literally pop out. This is literally paper thin. This is amazing. That's awesome. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to bring it down right to the wasteboard. And we got to get the last one. There we go. And that's now out. All that's left is a little bit of light sanding. This light sanding will clean up the edges and remove those tool marks that was left by that 120-degree V-bit. Now that the sanding is done, I'm going to seal the wood with a shellac sealer to be able to make painting a whole lot easier. Outside, I'm going to use the Rust-Oleum paint and primer, and this is the flat black. The first coat is going to be the flat black, which helps to seal and prime everything. After this dries, a little light sanding will be required because the grain of the wood does come up, and then I'll use a gloss black to put the final coat on. So thanks a lot for watching this video today. I hope this helped you get a better understanding about the prism letters. They're a lot of fun to be able to do. They look very professional, and they really take your projects up another level that you would not have otherwise using a plain flat letters. Please leave me some comments down below if you have any questions about the Prism letters or anything that we've been able to discuss in this particular video or the previous video where we cut out the foam letters. So again, thank you very much for watching this video today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next project, whatever that may be. So for now, bye-bye everyone.